Hi, I'm Kristen Denny Chambers. Today I'm going to take you on a quick walkthrough of the Oklahoma All-State Round 2 B-flat clarinet music. And in this session, we'll be doing page 36, the C-sharp minor etude, and this is part 1, just measures 1 through 20. So this will be very informal. Just grab your clarinet and a pencil, your music, and we'll work through it together. Okay, so this is what the first section of the C-sharp minor etude looks like. We have 4 sharps in our key signature. We also have a lot of unexpected accidentals like B sharp, A sharp, which most of us should know that one. There are some E sharps later on in the etude, so just really keep your eye out for those and understand that B sharp is the same as C natural, E sharp is the same as F natural, and so on. As long as you understand how half steps work, hopefully you'll be able to figure it out. But let's go through a few fingering things first. So at the very beginning, I have this right/left because when you go from C sharp to D sharp, usually we have to go left to right, but we have so much time here on this C sharp. So if your connection to the right side is better, then start on the right and then switch to the left during this 2 counts of this quarter note. Because remember, we're in 3, so that means every 8th note gets 1 beat, a quarter note gets 2 beats, a dotted quarter note gets 3 beats if we see that rhythm later. So this is quite slow, so you have time if you want to do that. You can do the same thing over here in measure 13. And then just before this turn in measure 19, you'll want to make sure you land on the left side. This is, of course, assuming that you have a traditional B-flat clarinet without the extra E-flat key. If you have that extra E-flat key, you have a lot more options. Other things to do, we have a place right here in measure 4 that's a great place to take a breath midway through the first big phrase. In between these 2 notes in measure 12 is another good place to add another breath. And over here in measure 16. That should be plenty of places to breathe to get you through in a musical way. The main thing I think that we need to focus on in the first section are these turns. We have 3 turns in the first section. 1 in measure 7, 1 in measure 15, and 1 over here in measure 19. I have a separate page that we'll take a look at to work on those turns first, and then we'll come back to this page. This is measure 7, the first turn that you'll run into. I've made 3 different versions, so it's easy on the eyes. The version in 6/4, you can count very easily with traditional counting, 3 counts for your dotted half note, a triplet on beat 4, and so on. Then when we look at it in 3/4, it's going to sound just like it will in the context of the 3/8, but we have 3 different visual aids here to look at before we're actually playing it in the rhythmic context, which looks a little overwhelming at first. So let's look at this first version up here at the top in 6/4. I'm setting my metronome to 60, and that should be a very easy tempo to practice these turns with. Here's the one in 6/4. Now let's go on to the second one in 3/4. This will be double the time, and you'll understand when you hear it. Okay, now when you shift your eyes to the 3/8, it's going to sound exactly like it did in the 3/4 version, but this is what we visually see in the etude. Now let's take a look at the second turn. Here is the second turn in measure 15. We'll go through the same kind of sequence I did with the first turn. We have 1 in 6/4, 3/4, and 3/8. Follow along with me. Here's the 1 in 3/4, which will be twice the speed as the 1 in 6/4. And finally, the 1 in 3/8, which, as I described before, is what we would see if the turn was written out in the context of our etude. Okay, now let's take a look at the third turn. The third turn is in measure 19. This one is slightly more awkward. You just have to really make sure you know what your pinkies are going to be doing. So be sure to start that first C sharp on the left side. Then we're going to have D sharp, C sharp on the left again, and then B sharp is the same as C. So just play that with your right side, C natural, C sharp, skip up to E, D sharp, and then you're on that left C sharp again. So again, we'll do this in 6/4, 3/4, and 3/8. All right, now the version in 3/4, which will be twice as fast. And finally in 3/8, same speed as a 3/4, but visually how we're going to see it in the music. Now that we've addressed the turns, let's take a look at the full section of the music. Remember, this music is in 3, and you want to choose a tempo that is conducive to executing 64th notes because we're going to have those to deal with. So I think somewhere around 60 or the mid 60s is a good speed to aim for. It allows you to stay musical, and it still allows you to get through those 64th notes without them sounding too technical. Remember, we want them to sound like they belong in a slow piece. If it starts to sound like a fast etude, we miss the character, or we miss the point of the music. So now that we've talked through some fingering options, places to breathe, and work through the turns, it's time to play this beginning section. I will play it twice, once with metronome and once without. 1, 2, 3, 1. It's always so important to be able to play that with a metronome so that you really solidify all the rhythms. But now, since this is a slow piece, we have flexibility to push a little here, pull back a little here, and we actually have, in measure 11, an accelerando. So here we get to bring some energy into the music, and then at the end of that accelerando, we come back to the original tempo. So basically, the ends of phrases you can slow down just a little bit to let them taper. And somewhere in the middle, if things are rising, like in measure 17, it's rising in excitement, leading to something. So that can kind of push ahead. And then on the turns, all 3 of them are in places of the music that can relax a little bit. So you have some more flexibility there as well. Okay, so now we'll play all the way through this section without metronome. So that's the end of the first section. Now watch the second video for the second section. Thank you so much.